Dear friends, welcome to another episode of NeoWar Today. In this video, we will discuss an ambitious Chinese program aiming to establish military bases in various parts of the world, including Cuba. When a nation has concrete plans to establish itself as a global power, one point is truly mandatory. Its physical presence must also be global, a presence that can be achieved in various ways depending on the objectives of the ruling class. There are nations that are global powers in the economic and commercial arena, but do not have such an extensive international physical presence, such as Japan, the world's third largest economy. But other powers like the United States aspire to much more than economic and commercial dominance. They aim to achieve and maintain a high level of military influence over broad areas of the globe. This is a strategy that began in the late 19th century after the victory over the Spanish Empire, which granted the United States access to territories in the Caribbean and the Pacific. This strategy further expanded after the end of World War II, with the United States solidifying its global presence in many other areas, both in Europe and Asia. Within a few decades, the United States completely abandoned its isolationist approach, assuming a post-war stance on Earth that did not involve territorial expansion, but rather the expansion of its military presence worldwide through strategic partnerships with countries like Germany, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Thanks to these partnerships, the United States is by far the nation with the largest international military presence, with an estimated number of around 750 military bases, operating in 80 countries around the world. In terms of overseas deployments alone, the United States has more military personnel than many armed forces in the world, with estimates indicating that around 400,000 American soldiers are stationed at bases located outside the territory of the United States. Just for comparison, the Brazilian armed forces consist of approximately 360,000 active-duty military personnel. No other country in the world even comes close to such a strong global presence. Another country that wants to start treading this same path is powerful China. Xi Jinping, on several occasions, has declared his plan to transform China into a major global power, not only in economic and commercial terms, but also and mainly in military terms. If China's goal were solely economic, it could follow the path taken, for example, by Japan, which, as mentioned earlier, despite being the world's third largest economic power, does not have any significant international physical presence. But the Chinese also want to grow and expand globally in terms of their military. And for that, they necessarily need military bases scattered around the world. A blue water navy, no matter how many high autonomy ships it possesses, will always be more limited to a presence focused on its own coast, an exclusive economic zone. But if the goal is to act on a global level, it will need bases in more distant areas dedicated to providing logistical support to its fleet. And that's exactly what China is seeking through an ambitious plan known as Project 141. According to the details of this project, which were made public after the leak of Pentagon documents in March 2023, China's goal is to establish naval logistics support bases in at least 5 locations: Cambodia, United Arab Emirates, Mozambique, and Equatorial Guinea. The installation in Cambodia aims to support the Chinese fleet operating in the South China Sea and the entrance to the Indian Ocean. In the United Arab Emirates, the goal is to provide China with a fixed presence in the Persian Gulf and Djibouti. In Mozambique, the objective is to enhance the Chinese Navy's capability to operate in the Indian Ocean and along the East African coast. With the base in Equatorial Guinea, they aim to give the Chinese the autonomy to operate in the South Atlantic, right in front of Brazil. But in addition to these bases, the Chinese are also reportedly finalizing preparations to open a military facility in Cuba, just over 210 kilometers from the American coast. Through these bases scattered around the world, China intends to achieve the global reach it desires, something that obviously worries and concerns the United States, having a Chinese presence so close to its territory.